Hello everyone, welcome to my update to the GHB Tempest Trial tier list. This time we'll be looking at Rinea. I'm sorry for the delay, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really have much of an excuse. I've been meaning to relax a bit because of how much from work and school I've been doing. And I ended up just picking up a series to read, and it's a struggle to just put down, so, you know. Either way, though, let's talk about Rinea this time. So Rinea is a free dancer, the first one since Azura, I believe. And unlike Azura, she has an extra 12 BST, so that's, you know, always helpful. Yeah, BST increase are just great when at the worst it's at least 12 more BST and at best it's 20. But either way. So, Silver Goblet is just the worst version of Nephine's Bow. See, Nephine's Bow is the close guard version, this is the distant guard version. Distant guard is not great because unless you have to deal with mages, which are only really relevant in one mode of this game, well, the 4 death res you gain against them becomes irrelevant because you don't have a target to get the stats against. Melee units exists in spades. That's why Nephine's Bow is so good. However, this, well, let's put it this way. 4 death res during combat doesn't help against AoEs, which is the most dangerous thing you can come across in the AR. It doesn't do much against instant special infantry team because of infantry pulse. Hey, like, let's just put it this way, right? What will you do with your 4 def 4 res against, say, a 55 attack unit that has instant glacis with a Wodao effect on top of it? Oh, and that's like 40 damage on proc. It's not gonna do much. So, of course, it's not really helpful. Frankly, if you're going to be using a dancer in AR, either way, it's either Legendary Azura or Raisin. There's really not any other choice, unless you decide to be like, oh, Raisin for Light Season and Leon for Astra, which I guess can work, but, I mean, At this point, there's really just one time where upheaval really exists and is annoying, and it's the Anima season, so you should, you know, put Raisin on the one of Anima season, and the other one, well, you should just not bother. That's just how it is. But that's just my opinion. Either way, Rinea outside of AR is fairly solid. She is a dancer after all, so, I mean, that is to be expected. Though her kit is, frankly, terrible. Bracing Blow is irrelevant. I'm honestly surprised she has Bracing Blow and not Bracing Stance, because that one would make sense. After all, a blow just... How can I put it in perspective? It feels like with a blow skill, you're supposed to be punching your enemy while doing it. I don't imagine Rinea just ramming her shoulder in someone, bracing for impact. It just doesn't make sense. Bracing stance makes sense, but oh well. I don't know. It's pretty much nitpicking at this point, but it's just a funny image to me. Anyway, so our first merge provides HP, attack, and speed. No complaints there. It's basically every stat she needs, and frankly, the only thing I could have said is maybe better would be attack and res. However, that is pretty subjective. The reason why I say attack and res is because the speed becomes a bit irrelevant for one of the sets I have in mind. Whereas res actually helps with ploys, sabotage, and so on and so forth. Still, what she gets is pretty solid and can work with something like no follow-up, though I don't have a single set with this for obvious reasons. Anyway, comparison. Yeah, as you can see, Cliff is a bit better. The only thing that Rinea really has over him is, well, HP. That said, I'm gonna be honest with Cliff, his speed is kind of irrelevant. Might as well be tied. So attack and speed are essentially tied. The res, yeah, okay. The res, yes, is a bit helpful for Rinea. So for Cliff, having, you know, more res is a bit of a bummer. And for defense, it also is to some extent. Still, with that said, Cliff is also a 5-star exclusive, and Rinea is a free unit. Let's compare her rather to a 3 to 4 star. This time Robin. Better attack, better speed, better res. Yeah. However, while I do say this, if you would be, say, using Robin with attack plus, it would have more attack and speed. If you went with speed plus, it would still be below in attack, speed, and res, and so on and so forth. I would still say Rinea is overall better, because while you can make the case that Robin is slightly better in some ways, especially in defense, essentially because Robin to this day has the highest defense of all blue mages. I don't know if it's blue mage infantry or just blue mage in general. I think it's blue mage in general. While that is the case, it's no surprise that he has more defense than Rinea. However, most people use Robin as a mixed tank, and in which case Rinea is very comparable. A bit worse, but still quite comparable. 5 less points of bulk overall. However, if you go for attack or speed plus on Robin, that bulk difference goes from 5 to 2, so there is that to keep in mind. So, to put it simply, I do think Rinea is slightly better than Robin in terms of stats. Robin's main issue becomes, honestly, his attack, and to some extent his speed. So, Rinea being better on that regard, yeah. Not to mention, the bulk is very similar, and to top it all off, she's a dancer on top of it, which is something that not even Cliff can do. So, hey, it's kind of just how it is, I suppose. Welcome to Gen 4, everybody. Anyway, let's talk about build, shall we? So, I think this is obvious for all parties involved. The left side is meant to be a build side for supporting, and the build on the right is a set more for tanking. So, one of the reasons I went with Res Plus on the supporting set, well, not Res Plus, but Res Refine, same thing really, but the reason I went for it, despite Fortress Def Res, which Fortress Def Res is there to add some bulk, so she doesn't die easy. This is obvious, it's a no-brainer for any support unit. Fortress Def Res is typically one of the best options you can run in an A slot for those units. But it's for sabotage attack. Sabotage skills require you to have 3 more res than the enemy. So to put it simply, and obviously you can't consider buffs, one that's in mind, which means if I didn't take the res refine, units with, I believe, 36 or more res would be able to avoid a sabotage. If you're using this type of set, well, you're typically in arena or any kind of place like this, so having over 38, so making the requirement 38 res or more is ideal. 38 res or less rather, because that way Surtur is ployable or sabotageable, or however the hell you want me to pronounce this. Essentially, it makes so that the debuff is more consistent. However, you do lose score if you're doing this in arena, so it's a bit iffy. It comes down to preference. As for Sea Life Tome replacing her base tome, it's quite obvious. 1 attack, 1 speed, regardless of the situation, is better than 4 def, 4 res in a situation you will struggle to find yourself into. So, sadly, this is the best tome as far as supporting goes. that Rinea has access to, but maybe in the future this may change. It remains to be seen, of course. Speed tactic and attack tactic for support, of course. 6 attack and 6 speed for your bonus unit or any kind of unit of the like is definitely helpful. Moving on to the more aggressive set. This is Rinea at her best in my opinion. Let's just consider 2 ally and one of them being as supported with Rinea close to her. That would mean at 6 to all stats, on top of 5 attack, 5 def. This pushes her stat line to 63 attack, 50 speed, 44 defense, and 47 res. She becomes quite hard to kill. Now, Blue Flame is not, like, always the best idea. She does a bit more damage with this with the idea of this set in mind. However, if you do feel like Iceberg can do more or less the same job, that's fine. Blue Flame is better on low merges and will score better if needed. That's one of the reasons I pointed it out, but Iceberg does the job more or less the same. So, attack blow to provide more bulk essentially, pushing your bulk to 49 defense and 52 res if the enemy is debuffed. Special Spiral is a no-brainer, but in case you don't realize why, 63 attack, say you're dealing with a 40 res mage. You'd only do 23, get hit, proc Blue Flame, that's 48, and oh look at that, the 2 charge comes back and then your 3 charge left for the next special goes down to 1. Meaning if you get hit again, you proc it again. That's kind of the idea of the set. It allows her to get a more consistent damage output because, I'm gonna be honest here, just like Robin, that's one of her biggest issues. Still, it's quite solid. You can also run No See Disrupt if you're curious about that. However, I don't really recommend running No See Disrupt in stuff such as AR, which is the main mode you want to have No See Disrupt in, as this is a set with Blaural. Blaural kind of requires you to be next to people, Aversa exists, and Aversa will ruin your day. So it's not exactly what I consider consistent in that mode. Still, this is a very strong tanking set and can definitely, you know, take out quite a few units. Especially if you can have support of units such as, well, Kaden, for example, or Marv, for example. Marv with double drive attack for that 8 attack is quite good. Because that's, again, our main issue, pushing an attack from 63 attack to 71 attack. And hell, you could also run Infantry Breath and replace Blue Flame for Glacis as a result. Now, like I said, AR is completely different, but in other modes, this would basically spell death or whatever the hell you're fighting. So yeah. With that said, this is our placement on the tier list. I've put her in S-, because Azura is an A+ tier and she is absolutely worse than Rinea. The best way I can put it is Azura only beats Rinea in attack by 2 points and has a pref. Although her pref at the end of the day is kind of just like an alto in some ways. You have to have one person next to you for the enemy to lose 4 to all stats. Cool. If you have 2 units near Rinea with an alto, it ends up being basically the same. The difference here is that she has better speed, better def, better res, so yeah, it's just kind of made to be better on Rinea. Ironically enough, if Azura's Tome had been on Rinea, Rinea would be even better than what she is right now because it would require only one person next to her. Though the way it is right now, I would still say Rinea is slightly better. 12 BST is one hell of a drug, my guy. It just is. And the fact that her def stat is not terrible is definitely a huge help for her. But yeah, I think that about sums it up. Ironically enough, you can kill her husband, or fiance, I guess, or blue dual infantry on her, which is kind of ironic. Normal Rinea is just going to sacrifice Berkut to gain power. Where have I seen that one before? Oh wait, it was the other way around. Anyway. With that said, in conclusion, I do think Rinea is a good enough unit. You should maybe invest in her, though keep in mind she is a Tempest Trial unit. So it is 2.7k Grail, which is really hard to suggest people doing. I know I won't, because that's too expensive. However, I would still consider +1ing Rinea with the spare unit you have if you do like the character. It is 2 speed, 1 attack and 2 HP after all. But yeah, with that said, I think I've just about said my piece. I shall be seeing you all later. Have a good day, everyone, and I should have the Sacred Seal video out by the end of the day, I hope. See ya!